Hello Summoners, welcome back to another Wild Rift video. My name is Nathaning and we're going to be going over a couple of surprisingly OP off-meta picks. These champions play a little bit differently from their corresponding meta positions, but they are very viable and work to both surprise your team and the enemy team. But be sure to understand that these off-meta picks need to be handled differently from their typical playstyles, adjusting to the world that they're played in. Well, all that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into it. To start the list off, we have Jarvan Support. This pick sounds absurd and people may flag you as a troll, but the pick is surprisingly broken in the dual lane. With his recent buffs in patch 2.1, the Prince of Demasia's base damage is very high. Jarvan Support relies on this fact, allowing him to build pure tank so he could go ahead and frontline for his ADC and his team. Rush Predator's Vow and or Zeke's Convergence to provide utility for your ADC. Do not take Conqueror for your Keystone, and go for either Font of Life or Aftershock in order to help you with teamfighting. The idea behind Jarvan Support is to be an engaged machine, similar to Malphite and Alistar Support. His knockup combo, which can be utilized by simply pressing his third ability, Demacian Standard, twice in a row, has incredibly long reach and area of effect. This skill allows him to close the gap and CC the enemy team with a very high success rate. The knockup combo can also be used to peel for his ADC alongside Escape all at the same time. Keep in mind, Jarvan Support's goal is to protect and play for the ADC, not to build damage and try to solo carry the game. Be sure to max Demacian Standard, his flag ability, as it also gives nearby allies an attack speed buff. This skill is key to Jarvan Support. Spam Demacian Standard to deal some harass damage in the early stages of the game, and the speed of his ability is near impossible to dodge if placed correctly. To add the viability of his kit as a tank supporter, Jarvan's second ability, Golden Aegis, gives him a shield according to the number of nearby enemy champions. In the dual lane, this makes it so he's almost guaranteed a bigger shield. Max's ability second. To add onto his kit, Jarvan's passive allows his first hit on unique enemies to take extra damage. This makes his engaged potential and damage output in a lane with two unique champions to be maximized. To add onto the viability of that, his ultimate works wonders for 2v2 fights. By trapping the enemy support or ADC in his wall, or even both, it is almost always going to force a flash. This pick works best when playing with meta ADCs such as Kai'Sa and Misfortune. These two ADCs can follow up Jarvan's engage simply by pressing R, bursting down the enemy dual laners before they even have a chance to react. Please do remember though, Jarvan Support should be treated as such, a support. Do not play the pick to selfishly build damage, take farm, or steal kills. The role of a supporter is to help his team and ADC. Next on our list is Graves Mid. When playing Graves mid, be sure to take Conqueror to optimize his bonus AD to maximize the burst potential in his quick combos. Graves loves to farm, making the mid lane a great place for him to push out minion waves. The biggest asset to Graves' viability in the mid lane is his wave clear. Max end of the line, his first ability, to help push the wave in. Graves cannot hit through minions with his auto attacks, but what he can do is hit 3 minions at once. The splash attack on his auto attacks give him the ability to push the wave faster than most mid champions. Graves' goal in the mid lane should be to outpush the enemy laner. By pushing out the minion wave, Graves gains mid priority, allowing him to roam the map. By roaming, Graves is able to help jungle pressure, which can help gain map priority. This creates a scenario where the mid laner has to give up farm if they want to follow the roam, a choice that most laners do not want to take because of the inherent gold and XP loss. To build Graves in the mid lane, rush Ghostblade, as the movement speed buff helps him efficiently move around the map. The first hit off of Ghostblade synergizes excellently with Graves' burst damage, the key element to playing Graves mid properly. Prioritizing lethality on Graves gives him excellent burst potential in the early to mid game, but it does fall off in the later stages of the game. If you want to play him but don't know how to jungle, try him out in the mid lane. And this leads us to our question of the day. What champion wouldn't you want to take on a date? For me, it's probably Zed, because he seems like the type of guy to throw shade. He uses shadows. Next up is a strategy that works best when playing with a friend or two. Lux and Sona in the dual lane is a surprisingly powerful and viable combination in Wild Rift. Both champions should take Aerie to increase the effect of shielding on their lane partner. In Wild Rift, laners gain gold simply just being near a dying minion, allowing for the two support champions in the lane to function quite well. The minions are typically eaten by Lux, utilizing her kit to wave clear. This allows her to function as a makeshift ADC. Sona serves as a more conventional support, offering heals and movement speed buffs. The early game for the synergy is reliant on surviving the laning phase until the first item is built. For itemization, at least one of the two champions should have built Harmonic Echo. Sona should probably just build Seraph's Embrace early to help her out with the mana problems. The synergy definitely lacks some damage until the ultimates are learned, so go ahead and focus on surviving and poking down the enemy team rather than going for those risky all-ins. The goal of this synergy is to scale into team fights. After getting through this phase, it becomes exceedingly difficult to kill these two enchanters. With Lux's shield and Sona's heals, they become incredible assets to each other and their team. As most of the game is reliant on quick burst damage, the healing and shields function to counter a big chunk of that damage. Team Singularity, a professional EU Wild Rift team, has been utilizing this off-meta synergy to compete in tournaments. Be sure to try this out in Wild Rift, but make sure your team has ample AD damage elsewhere to make up for the lack of conventional ADC. Next up is yet another support off-meta pick. Support Orianna is next on the list. Utilizing her shield, speed buffs, and most importantly, her ultimate, she synergizes very well with the meta ADCs that rely on CC and buffs to succeed. Similar to Jarvan Support, Orianna Support needs to adopt the mindset of truly playing as a support rather than a typical mid lane Orianna. To succeed on Orianna Support, you have to protect your ADC, not be another AP damage dealer. To adjust to such, take Aerie to increase her shields and max her third skill, Command Protect. Rush Harmonic Echo to add a heal to her shielding kit, but be warned, the heal only applies when putting Protect on an ally, not yourself. This item serves as an extra incentive to play to protect your ADC as support players should. Orianna Support functions eerily similar to Lulu Support, giving them both movement speed buffs and a knock-up ultimate. But Lulu has more versatility in her utility, while Orianna has more base damage. Once Ori has an item or two, her shield becomes massive, making her allies difficult to kill. This team works best when in a team composition with a beefy frontline. As she can't safely throw her own body at the enemy team, only use this champion to pick as a support when you know that you have one or two reliable frontliners. Do note that Orianna as a champion is in a very good position, so Riot might look towards nerfing her in the very near future. So if you're looking for a new enchanter support to play, try Orianna out before the inevitable nerfs come in. And for those of you who don't know, Lulu is also in a fantastic position in Wild Rift. She is one of the strongest supports in the game. But did you know that she also works wonders in the mid lane as well? The amount of utility in her kit is extremely impressive, and she has a lot of flexibility in playstyle. This allows her to become a fantastic dueler in the mid lane. Unlike support Lulu, mid Lulu should go ahead and rush Rod of Ages or Luden's Echo, and have a more solo play reliant rune set. The versatility of her kit allows her to deny and poke the enemy laner, creating an oppressive lane bully. Unless she gets ganged up on, Lulu can polymorph her lane opponent when they try to close the gap, making for free poking opportunities. This allows her to deny and harass from a safe distance away. Luden's Gap helps fill the gap in her weakness, which would be consistent wave clear. The splash from Luden's Echo allows for more minions to get hit, and therefore give you a little more oomph in her pushing power. But farming well is not Lulu's priority or forte. However, she makes up for her lack of wave clear by having insane team fighting potential. Having an AP Lulu to peel and harass the enemy team in the mid to late stages of the game is extremely beneficial. Her skills and shields scale with AP, making them useful on allies regardless of whether she goes mid or support. This means that even as an AP carry, Lulu can help out teammates and help hypercarry ADCs finish out the game. To finish the list off, we have the infamous Wind Samurai himself, Yasuo. Yasuo's kit works surprisingly well as an ADC despite lacking the range and kiting abilities of most dragon laners. Thanks to Yasuo's Wind Wall, which denies all projectile attacks, he trades quite well in a dual lane. Since ADCs are ranged, if Yasuo simply positions himself around his Wind Wall, most of the enemy ADC's damage are nullified during trades. Due to his lack of range, Yasuo is weak at level 1, but his level 3 power spike is insane. Most ADCs cannot match Yasuo in terms of mobility that he gains from his dash, Sweeping Blade. By moving through minions, he can go ahead and engage on unsuspecting ADCs, and if the enemy ADC tries to trade, he can simply just throw out his Wind Wall. To get the most out of this pick, make sure that your support chooses accordingly. Since Yasuo has the ability to elongate knockups through his ultimate Last Breath, supports with knockup abilities synergize best with him. These synergies make him a great ADC to play when you have a friend to accompany you in the dual lane, and if you're looking for some intense, highly mechanical skirmishes. Understanding when these picks are viable and how to play them is the key to making them work. If you enjoy this type of content, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, as it really does help us out to know what type of content that y'all want. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to address the question of the day in the comments down below. Good luck on your future Wild Rift games, and until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and have a wonderful day. Peace.
From the top, here we go. Hair's looking good.
Thank you.
All right, here we go in 3, 2, and...